FFA had asked, how do we get into the door to FNBO for many, many years? And my answer to them was, you guys come up with something that grabs, something that has meaning, and I'll go to bat for you.
There's a lot of students in urban and rural Nebraska that don't live on a farm or a ranch and don't have access. So how do we give them tools to identify an SAE, a supervised ag experience that's entrepreneurship based, and give them that experience? And the SAE for All groundwork that was done helped to identify what would it look like for an ag program and an ag teacher to help students start a school-based enterprise.
And the first year we sponsored a national consortium to come together to talk about how do we bring experiential learning into a classroom for students that don't have a farm or ranch that they automatically can do something at. And out of that discussion, the state of Nebraska came out with the launch program.
We figured out really quickly that what we needed to be about was building people who built companies, that built communities. And once we made that connection, we began to ask ourselves the question, so when is a person ready to be an entrepreneur? And fortunately, Brennan Costello on our staff said, we need to be doing something that reaches earlier than the university. Let's reach to the high school level, and let's look at one of the most entrepreneurial organizations on the planet, FFA, and let's see if we could build something better.
The whole idea of launch was, well, what if they pursued building an entrepreneurship SAE in the umbrella of a school, which was a really unique way of thinking about how do we offer SAEs to people. Engler got specifically involved because we can help provide the training for entrepreneurship. When you think about, a business in the school, the easy answer is like, let's start a school store. And I think that's boring. That doesn't really get to apply what we do, which is thinking about how do you find a niche market, solve a problem for that customer, and then learn to create value through a new enterprise, right? And so that's really what Launch was based off of.
But when this came across my desk, it came in through an email, and it was, we're gonna do this launch program where we're gonna launch businesses, and it's gonna be supported by the Engler program. That was why I wanted to be attached to it, because I could see the things that they were doing, and I could see the opportunity there. They had to pitch their idea in June. In May of that year, I took them to the FFA Colt Conference while in Aurora, Nebraska. I said, have you guys ever tried gelato? And none of them had ever tried it. And I said, oh, you guys, where have you been? We gotta go try this gelato. And so I took them and I bought them gelato at this gelato shack. And while we're sitting there eating gelato, one of them says, we should start a gelato business. And let me tell you, this was 10 days before they had to pitch. When they landed on that idea of we're gonna sell gelato, they had that fire in their belly, right? And they were on fire for this idea, and they were ready to do whatever it took to be ready to pitch.
We had 4 founding members, and one was my sister and one was my cousin. And so I was actually at the meeting where they were talking about the launch program and what idea they wanted to do for their company.
Really, all launch is a process, a little bit of a pathway that gives people permission to start. And we've been really fortunate to be in a state where there's a lot of courageous teachers who said, you know what, I'm going to trust that this group of committed kids can build a company. And our first success was the young women at Bassett. Isn't it remarkable that they came from the same place that our founder, Paul Engler, came from? There's something really cool in the circle of life in that.
We wanted to expand and be able to sell in different avenues, and so the only way to be able to fulfill that amount of gelato, being able to increase our production, was to get a new machine. And so that was my first idea. And so then that was a huge project because we actually had to work with First National Bank to be able to get a loan to be able to get that machine. One of the coolest things about On the Go Gelato is that we've really perfected this transition process so that it's not only an opportunity for those who started it, we can create opportunity for students in Rock County throughout the years for however long there's interest for it.
We're stepping into the transition period right now of a new set of gelato girls, and so currently it's trying to get that mindset into those girls of, you don't have to do what the gelato business has done in the past. We want you to come up with new ideas, new ways to make this business your own. And so it's really cool to see each set of how that works, because even with the first round of gelato girls, they had different ideas than the girls right now. And I'm sure these third set of girls, this third legacy, is gonna have new ideas and new ways of doing things in gelato.
I think what's unique about this opportunity is the more I backed off, right, as the teacher, the more they grew and the more they took on the responsibility and the more they learned. I think sometimes as educators, we think that we have to be in charge and we have to be running the show in order for learning to happen, and this was the complete opposite.
What I have seen with ag education and FFA is students find a place that they belong. They find other students that have a same interest in them. They find a teacher who believes in them. And so that makes them feel like they're part of something bigger than just themselves. It's more than just a class.
Anybody I talk to in the community will ask me, how's gelato going? And I think it makes us proud of what we've accomplished, in that our community recognizes the work that we've put in.
Ag is the #1 industry in Nebraska, so all of us want to get behind it and make sure the future is bright and the students are our future.